Hi, you've reached the Talking Racewalking podcast. It's all about racewalking, of course. It's talking to racewalkers from around the world about racewalking. Join me, Noel Payne, a amateur racewalker in Canada, as I talk to elites, Olympians, record holders, masters walkers, and anybody who's out walking as fast as they can. Hi, so this is a section where I'd actually be talking to someone, a racewalker. So this is where you can come in. If you know a racewalker, you're a racewalker, and you have an amazing story, I want to hear from you. So reach out, let's chat, let's get walking and talking. Hey everyone, welcome to another Talking Racewalking podcast. Sorry, my brain is not 100% here. I think I have a total of about 15 minutes sleep today, so that's another story, but we're not here to talk about that. I am going to list the accomplishments of the person that we're going to talk to, and then if anybody else out there doesn't know who it is, well, you're probably not a racewalker. So, but that's okay, and if you're not, keep listening, but here we go. So this person is an Olympian, Olympic bronze medalist in the 50K, world championship bronze medalist in the 50K, World Racewalking Team Championship silver 20K, Commonwealth Games gold 10K, Pan Am Games gold 20K, North American, Central America, and Caribbean champs gold and silver in the 20K, Jeux de Francophonie 20K, Canadian and North American record holder, nearly set a 20K world record a few weeks back, and world record holder now, which is why I've got him on now to poke and ask him questions for the 35K race walk in a time of 2 hours, 21 minutes, 40 seconds, taking 7 seconds off the world record. If you don't know who this is, you're new to race walking, and since my audience is mainly geeks, they've already figured out that it is Canadian Evan Dunfee. Welcome, Evan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I will say nearly breaking the 20K world record is probably not true. I think there's still a long way to go from 117.39 down to what it is now, 116.10. I was very happy though in Adelaide on that February day to hold the world lead for about 2 hours until the race in Japan kicked off and bumped me down to fifth on the year top lists.
It's still not a shabby time we're placing overall. So, and I think you probably made yourself feel better, like with the world record that we've just talked about as well. So, is that soaking in at all, Evan, right now?
A little bit. It's funny, endurance sport being what it is. Uh, by 25K into the 35K race, I was 40 seconds under world record pace. I was, on a 221 flat-ish kind of pace. And the last 10K, I saw those 40 seconds whittle their way down to 7 in the end. And the biggest feeling I had when I crossed that finish line was one of relief that I hadn't screwed it up and missed the record by 2 or 3 seconds.
True enough.
So it's funny how the mind can play those kind of tricks on you. But in the week and a few days since, it's sort of settling in, getting back, seeing friends, and just kind of having the moment think in of yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big thing. It's something to be very, very proud of.
Yeah, I think all Canadians are definitely proud of you. I mean, we are here. It's amazing. It was a 402 average. Is that what it worked out to?
Yeah, it's 402.9, I think, just a hair under 403s.
Now, we know it's a world record, but we also know that, I mean, your specialty was the 50K. You've kind of shifted gears a little bit into like the 35K and the 20, and you've been at this for a long time. even though it was a world record, was that the hardest race you had to, like in terms of intensity and pushing yourself? Um, was that the hardest race or was it just the fastest you've done?
Yeah, so I'd say certainly not the hardest. Felt, I felt quite good for a long time in Dudens. It was, um, the course was solid. The conditions for the early part of the race were really good. Um, the last 10K, there was some moments that were quite a big battle, but um, I've had some 50Ks that were torture. One that sticks out to me would be the race I qualified in. So in Wajima in 2019, qualified for Tokyo in, chasing a sub 350 time, going through 25K in like 152-ish, I think it was, and then just holding on for like a 157-ish second half, and just trying to get to that line. Had to change my shoes at one point in that race
Oh
because
God.
my shoe fell apart. It was that was a very, very tough race. So this one was hard, but it never got to a moment uh, that felt like the world was collapsing around me.
Right, yeah, understood. Well, I remember watching you the Olympics when you won the bronze in the 50K, and I don't know what you were feeling, but I mean the drama for us watching as well, knowing you were hurting towards the end, um, and then just pulling that gear out at the end, that must have been mentally tough as well.
Certainly. I mean, that was the irony of that was every sports psychologist in the world would tell you you got to be thinking I can statements,
Yep.
positive affirmations, everything framed as an I can or yes statement. And all that was going through my head in that final kilometer in Tokyo was, oh, you can't finish fourth again. That would be that would be embarrassing. You can't do that. So I was motivated myself through a little bit of uh, uh, potential embarrassment, I guess, at my own hand. But it seemed to have worked, and was able to find that gear to bring that home in Tokyo.
No, that's really that. I mean, that was a great thing to watch as well. And I think, like I said, we've probably have mostly race walkers on here, but if you're new and you're just listening because of Evan Dunfee, who a lot of people know the name, even outside the sport of race walking, I've always found going from being a runner to a race walker that that 50K event that we now don't have was such a dramatic race. There was always change ups and pace changes. People would blow up, people would disappear after, it was such a it was like a soap opera of a race.
You could show up on the side of a course at 40K and have no idea who was leading and who was in 20th.
Yeah.
And I love that idea um, of this. One thing I miss about it is seeing those epic collapses and blow ups. And I had my fair share of them. But then those days you're feeling good and can come over the top of people um, was always quite fun as well.
Yeah, that is too bad. I mean, I've watched many a marathon and trying to explain it to marathoners, where there'll be a few blowoffs, but and there is some drama, but I keep telling them that that 50K, there's something else. I mean, it's the intensity and trying to hold the pace and the technique and the red and yellow cards and everything. It seems so much more spectacular in terms of when there's a blow up, it's just like the backup signal and the person's like just off the back. So
I do think though, I think the 35K has changed a lot of I think 30 if we were to go back to 50K now, the
yep.
35K has changed the way that we would race it. I think you'd see a
You
lot
think it's faster?
more, I think faster. I mean, 3:32:30 is still an insane world record from Johan.
Yep.
Um, but I think you'd see a lot more guys getting after it early, trying to keep that pace in those 4:15 range. Um, you didn't see a lot of that. You didn't see, the Japanese certainly did it. You'd see a Japanese 50K race and you'd have have 10 guys go through halfway in 3:35 pace, and one of them would hold on for it. But outside of that, you didn't get a whole lot of that. And I think you would more so now. We'll see next year. We go to a marathon distance next year. Um, so
Yeah.
we'll see how people step up to that. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the marathon. I'm actually going to do a running marathon here in
Yep.
Vancouver in May, but
That's a sun run.
you
You doing
know
the sun run?
the BMO
Oh, the BMO. Okay.
marathon
Yep. Yep.
early May, and gonna set myself the goal of trying to break 3 hours. So see if we
That's
can go out
quick.
there and very quick, moving about 4:16s per kilometer,
Oh,
and see if it's always fun doing those road races because you end up pulling along a bunch of guys, and it's normally guys
yep.
who do not want to lose to the
Do a
person
walker.
walking. And so you just kind of have this like tail of people sitting on you, trying not to let you get away. And inevitably, after every race, I'll have people come up to me and say, "Hey, I need to thank you. I got a personal best today because I didn't want to lose to the race walker, and you pulled me to a personal best." And so I get to kind of be this unofficial rabbit for people, and with 3 hours being such a magical mark for a lot of people in the marathon, I'm hoping that I can provide, if I can stay on pace and be under pace in those last couple of kilometers. I'm hoping I can be some good motivation for people to get that 2 next to the hour mark in their time.
Yeah, definitely. I've been under three, and yeah, it is. You don't like to see the three. If you start with a two, it's a heck of a lot better. So,
Exactly.
and you've led me into the next question. It's kind of a informal chat here, but of course, then we're leading into, talking about the distances, which we've chatted about before, where we've gone from a 50K. 50K is gone. Now the 35K. 35K still exists, but it's not going to be in the Olympics. So now we're shifting to a half marathon and marathon distances, which, like yourself, I'm excited about. But at the same time, it did take me a while to kind of warm up to the idea. I think simply because it felt like the sport was a bit under attack at times. Um, but I think I do like it because you were telling me you were on another podcast, a running one. We won't hold that against you. But that I think the new distances will really potentially make it easier to explain things to runners who have a bigger audience. There's more runners. I started as a runner. So I think there may even be the possibility of race walkers jumping into, like you're going to do, jumping into a half marathon or marathon. I don't know how we'd make it official or whatever, but it does make that more doable and more likely for athletes who want to train for those distances as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the marathon from 35 is just a no-brainer in my
Yeah.
mind. 35 is just a
Odd.
weird distance.
Yeah.
It's the nice thing is, from like a physiology standpoint, it's very similar to an elite marathon. You're in that 2 hour, 20-minute time range. So there's that element of it that's kind of nice. Like the training is fairly similar to how a elite marathoner would train, and the requirements and fueling and all that stuff. So but you have to be in a pretty niche conversation to be able to make those relationships quite obvious.
Yeah.
The marathon just makes more sense, as you say. It's more relatable. It means more. A time in a marathon is just more understandable. Um, what I'm worried about is we still don't know what the distances will be for LA.
Yes.
It doesn't sound likely or it doesn't seem likely in my mind that we'll be getting 2 individual events back. So that means the most obvious thing would be similar to Paris. You have a mixed team relay
And
for the
one event.
marathon and an individual half. And what I don't like is if the only individual event is a half, I think it's degrading a little bit because it's a half. It's
Yeah.
not a full something. It's half of something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I think I maybe would have rather seen it stay with the 20K as it's kind of the historical distance, been 20K for decades and decades, and then have the 20K and the marathon. If we're going to have an individual marathon in the Olympics, then I'm more open to the idea of having the half as well, but I don't like the idea of the only individual event, the only individual medals we're chasing after being at a distance that is called half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Maybe it's a silly distinction in my mind, but I think 20K and a half marathon were close enough that the average runner just lumped them together anyways.
Yeah, it's
So if
close
you
enough.
said if I said my time for a 20K was 1:17:39, the average runner either thinks of it as this exact same thing and is impressed, or they instinctively add 4 minutes and convert it into a half marathon time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of my 2 cents on that. But we'll see what happens. I mean, we're so used to, you know, the one thing we yearn for as race walkers is just like knowing. We just want to know maybe a
The
couple
last few
years in
years, for
advance
sure. Yeah, the last few
what's
years.
going to happen, and we haven't really been given that privilege. So hopefully we find out sooner than later what the LA schedule will be, and then we can start kind of preparing for it.
Yeah, completely. And I think it's as well. I mean, it makes it hard for athletes to switch to focus on a distance or a training when it's not sure if you're going from, is it going to be the half marathon focus, or are you jumping up to a full marathon, which I think is a little farther away than 35K, that it starts to make it a little more different. It's not the 50K, but you, just like runners, you have the half and the full, and they require a little bit different approach to them.
Yeah, a
So
lot more differentiation than the 20 and 35. Right now, the 20 and 35 are are similar enough that you can do a good 20 off a 35K training, you can do a good 35 off a 20K training. Uh,
and essentially the same folks
very
showing
little
up. Yeah,
tinkering.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen in LA as well. I do have a little sort of inside glimpse into, there might be even technology coming that might actually help the sport as well. So we'll see what's coming around the corner.
Yeah,
I
I mean
think it's I think
that tech's necessary, especially if we're going to a 5K for juniors.
yeah.
I mean, if you watched World U20s last year, it was it was a gong show. It was awful. It was, guys were going 30, low 39, mid 39s. Technically, even watching on the stream, you could tell that it was atrocious. So put those
It's
same
hard.
guys over 5K without that tech, it's going to be uh, hurt the credibility of our event for sure. So I think I was on the fence about the tech a few years ago. I've been totally converted to the side of we need this, even over the 20K.
I think it's a turning
It's
point for the
necessary.
sport. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
agree. All right. Well, we went down the rabbit hole of the distances. I do apologize, but it's kind of like when you get two race walk geeks, and I'm pretty sure you guys didn't talk about that on the other podcast. So there we go. Um, but here's the big question that I wrote down. I was introducing you, Evan. What do you have left to do? I don't have any real spaces here left for things that you haven't done. What is motivating Evan Dunfee right now?
Global title. I mean, that's what I want. I want right now in this moment. I think my big motivation is redemption still.
Right.
Paris for me
You got a medal, but
was
you
it was
want the medal.
yes, and then Paris last summer was a disappointment. Fifth was a fantastic result, but it wasn't what I was capable of.
Right.
I had gotten sick the week prior. I was in the best shape of my
I
life.
remember that. I remember that.
What was that? 8 days out from the race, I think it was. Might have been 7 days out. I had my typical last day workout, 4 by 2K on the track with a 400-meter float, plus a 400-meter at the end just to make it 10K. Walked 39:06 or something like that for that workout, and just knew I was in amazing, amazing shape. And the next day got hit with a bout of gastro,
Oh,
and was out for a few days. Just and then just the last sort of 5 days before the race, really struggling to get what I needed to put back in my body. Stomach was all messed up. All my, all the acids in my stomach were all out of whack, and nothing felt right. And and mentally, I very disappointingly from my own perspective, mentally I got inside my own head quite a bit
Yep.
and lost a ton of motivation. I mean, to give you an example, and a little bit of insight, after that workout, a week out from the race, I we were in Barcelona at our training camp, and I pulled our amazing mental performance lead, Penny Worthner, aside, and I said, "Hey, Penny, like we have a chat after lunch." Having her, she's sort of looking at me, thinking something's wrong. And she's like, "Oh yeah, like what's going on?" I was like, "Oh, I have this thing I've never really dealt with before." And she's kind of looking at me a little bit worried. I was like, "Yeah, like I think I can win, and I don't know what to do with that information." And we came up with this whole plan on how to channel that feeling, how to get the most out of that feeling in that following week leading up to the race. And so just to give you that idea of where my confidence was, and literally a day later, that was all out of my head. It was just, can I make it to the start line? Can I race? Like, can I
That's
not
good to hear.
embarrass myself out there? Um, and so Tokyo 2021, cross that finish line, win that bronze medal, 50K is gone. It took me 18 months roughly to get my motivation back.
I remember
Had some
that
good
being a hard
results.
time watching some of your posts.
Yeah.
It was tough. Yeah.
Yeah, had some good races despite that lack of motivation. Won a Commonwealth title. That was probably the big turning point for me. It was sixth at Worlds earlier in the summer as well. But really, I was still trying to figure out what I was doing, and 2023 was a turning point. Had some amazing races, fourth at Worlds twice in back-to-back events. That gave me that motivation into Paris. Paris goes disappointingly for myself, and whereas it took 18 months to get the motivation back after Tokyo, about 5 seconds after the race in Paris, I was hungry to get redemption and get revenge. So um, this year so far has really been that redemption tour, revenge tour. Training's been the best it's ever been. I'm healthy. And yeah, just knocking out. Had a really good stint down in Australia. Walked 38:08 for 10K,
Yeah.
117:39 with a huge negative split. Walking my second half in Adelaide was 38:12. Um, so I just knew the body was right where I wanted it to be, was in really, really good shape. And so made the decision. Wasn't planning on racing Dudens, but after Adelaide, made the decision that should go down and race. Olivia, the athlete I coach, Olivia Lundman, she was going to go and race. So I was already looking at flights and pricing things out. And so I decided I would go along as well. And yeah, I'm glad I did.
Poor Olivia. Coach steals the limelight. I do want to mention as well that Olivia went down and she broke a Canadian record for the 35K as well. So she's really coming along as well. So
Yeah, broke four records in that race actually. She broke both the 30 and the 35K record for senior and for U23 because
I did not
she's
know
still
that.
22 years old. So
That's right.
yeah, got four new entries in the record books, and we're very lucky to have our resident five-time Olympian Tim Barrett in charge of updating those books, Athletic Canada. So he's always texting us when the records have been ratified and when they're updated, and keeping us up with that sort of stuff. So it's awesome. And yeah, just to have her in that race, have her do execute as we wanted to. She's still young. She's still figuring out the event, but gave herself the best chance she could to qualify for Tokyo this summer. So now we just have to wait patiently until August to see if her name stays in the rankings and get to that spot. But we've got some plans before then for some 20K races and some speed. She PB'd on Saturday, just a week later from the race, just a couple days ago over 5K. So she's clearly in good shape too. So yeah, we're both just kind of riding that wave of fitness right now.
No, it's amazing. I love the kind of coach athlete dynamic as well. Are you still enjoying that aspect of things as well?
Certainly, there's elements of it I really enjoy. Saturday at the track was pouring down rain. It was cold. Don't love that so much. It's a lot easier to be an athlete
Yeah.
in those conditions than it is to be a coach in those conditions. So has certainly given me perspective and a deep sense of gratitude to the amount of times Jerry stood out in those conditions or was on the bike in those conditions. I don't have the same wherewithal that he does for some of those long bike sessions in the pouring rain, freezing cold. Um, but yeah, it's fun, working with a group of athletes who have their goals and their goals are very different. So there's a huge variety amongst them in what those goals are, but they're all working diligently and you know diligently and purposefully towards those goals. So that's always fun, helping them help guide them towards them.
No, completely. I wanted to, you mentioned Tim Barrett, who I chatter back and forth with quite a bit. And if people don't know, Tim was five-time Olympian. I think he holds a record there for, I think, at least the race walking or athletics. How many have you been to, Evan? Are we creeping up on Tim
I've
yet?
well, I've competed in three, and I was very, very inebriated on the sidelines of one.
So, is
So,
that three
so
and a half for going
um,
in?
yeah, yeah, whatever we want to count that as. No, I've competed at three, and I was a spectator in London on the sidelines, getting to cheer on my teammate Iñaki Gomez and watching Jared win Olympic gold in the 50K and all that fun stuff.
Excellent. I had to give a plug into Tim, so hopefully, if he listens, he'll get back to me, and I'll be in his good books. But anyways, it's been an amazing chat with you, Evan. I know you've probably been on every podcast and news story for a little while, but you've deserved it. Um, Looking into the future now, you want to come out with sort of a global title, which we'd love to see you do. We've talked about the future of race walking. Quick question here. This is something in the race walking world I'm having a little bit of difficulty with. I'm not veering off into politics or anything, but well, just maybe just slightly. What do we do in the race walking world when we've got the global stuff that's going on? We've got the US. It's a conversation I've had with my partner and other people and everything else. What do you do when you're angry at a country, but not all the people in it? And the same with athletes. Like when you go to the Olympics, when you have an issue with that country, I think that sport brings people together. What's your take on that right now? Because I'm not happy with Russia. But it's not all the Russian athletes. I don't know them all. I have American friends, but I can't stand Trump. How do we reconcile that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is an individual choice. I've been dealing with that Russia question for a lot longer than
Yes.
most people. About over 10 years now, just because of the doping situation before the war situation,
Yep.
um, and I've gone through iterations in my head of different takes on that, but really what it comes down to is, in my mind, silence is complicit.
Yep.
Silence is complicit. I can't speak.
I
But
know what you're
but to
saying.
be silent is to be complicit.
Yes.
Um, and and so I think that's a huge element of it. You know, Thinking about the situation in the U.S., I was obviously just in Slovakia with Nick and Katie and Miranda and Steph and Jordan, and yeah, like we're joking around about some of the stuff, but at the same time, realizing the impacts it does have. And as you say, sport does have the power to unite, but you have to, actually be united around something, right? So I think when I'm chatting to the American guys and we're taking photos and chatting about this stuff, like we're very united in our stance of the stupidity that's going on around us. Um, at the same time, there is a double standard. We Russia deserves every little bit of scrutiny they are getting for the indiscriminate murder of innocent people. A lot of countries do that same thing, right? So there's a double standard. There's a double standard that has always existed and needs to be reconciled with. Over my time training going down to Australia and the people that I've gotten to train with and meet and some of the guys and the opportunity they've had. Edward and Yurko from Chile, being able to come down to Australia. The mayor of their small town would help personally fund their travel, so that they could have these opportunities, so that they could get to train with the best guys in the world. And they're just that element, all that good of sport, that amazing bits that sport has, focusing on that element of it is especially right now is just where we need to put our efforts into as athletes. How can we use that power to unite? How can we use sport to be there for our, in this specific case, for our Ukrainian athletes? What can we do to be there for them? And that might not be much, because at the end of the day, we are just athletes, and we might not have much to offer, but any little thing we do have to offer, um, you know, we can use the power of sport to be there for them. So,
No, I completely
yeah.
agree, and I think that's a good spot to end our sort of journey into that. And I think in the world in general, whether it's sport as well, I think we need more people to focus on the positive to get that out there. There's so much negative out there anyways. So I think we're all stressed out. It's in the background the whole time. The good thing is you're bringing good news stories like a world record, so keeping us all happy here. I love that. And the other thing I was going to say is, Evan, how do we get you a shoe sponsor? For the love of God, Asics, if you're listening, did you hear the list? Did you hear the list that I reamed off at the beginning of this podcast? And it's not a negative thing, Asics. I love your shoes. Evan wears them too. I'm just saying sometimes it can be a funny world where um the athlete that's got so many titles and everything and deserves, I mean, at least a couple pairs of shoes to help you, man. You're going to have to get the global title, and then you'll get the shoes. Come on, that's it.
Oh, I hope so. I hope that unlocks a door at least. But no, we're chipping away. We're trying our best. We make do with what we have, and at the end of the day, I'm in no position to complain. I get to do this thing I love, on a daily basis, and reach after really really big goals and dreams. So yeah, I can poke fun at it, and no one's better at making fun of me than I am. But when reality sinks in, I'm so lucky to get to do this.
No, and Evan, we're so lucky to have you as an athlete in Canada. So proud of what you've done. And you drive a lot of the dreams, I think, of young race walkers and even old farts here who think, maybe they can keep getting faster as the day goes on. So thank you, God, again for coming on to the podcast. Good luck. I'm sure you can rest now that you've done a couple podcasts today. So enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you again. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sound great. Thanks for having me on.
That's it, folks. The end of the podcast. No walkers have been harmed in the recording of this podcast. And of course, at the moment, we have no sponsors or supporters at this point to fund all this amazing podcasting. But if you're out there and have a racewalk company that produces some sort of racewalk apparel product or something you think racewalkers would love, get hold of us. We'd love to have you on board. Give us a holler.